Please clap.
Who's got a hammer?
Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Mike Pounds.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, hey everybody, welcome to the show. What do I keep doing that with my sidebars? I need to stop doing that. I'm giving things away. All right, anyway, I'm giving it all away. It's all free. It's all free. All right, anyway. As if I'd charge for this. I'd be broke. All right, anyway. Hey, welcome to the show. So, look, I know I'm in a weird mood, especially considering how today is the anniversary of the January 6th Capitol insurrection. You know, the thing that almost tried to end our democracy. That whole thing, or Democratic Republic, as nerds would be typing out. Yes, okay, sure, true. Nonetheless, they're trying to end the democratic part of Democratic Republic. And so let's just mention that. All right. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. We've got some stuff. We've got Joe Biden, of course, coming out and actually doing a fairly strong speech. But is that all? Well, we'll talk about it. We'll get into that. Of course, we have the response. We have Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz saying something reasonable. And he's got MAGA all in a tizzy. We have Ron DeSantis. He's back. He's back. Ron DeSantis has returned, but he is not looking very good. And we've got of course, details on that. We've got video to show you. Lots and lots of video today. Plus, Mike Pillow gets a little surprise under his pillow. Fun. I'm not gonna ruin that one. Although I tend to ruin lots of surprises. I'm known as the ruiner of surprises and the one who does the terrible teases. Yes, I'm just such a terrible tease today and every day. So anyway, fun. We've got a lot of stuff, as I said, to get through. But look, before we get to the stories, please like and share the stream. We couldn't do it without you. Couldn't do the show. Very important. As you might be noticing other content creators talk about on YouTube, there's a bit of an algorithmic suppression of independent YouTube lefty media going on here. And so the algorithms basically kind of drown us out, prevent people, new eyeballs, I should say, from coming to our channel. That's why it's more important than ever to share the stream, because basically we survive on word of mouth. We're not really recommended to other channels, to other people that are watching mainstream news outlets. The recommendations are very slim to none at this point. And so please share the video. Word of mouth, that's most important. It helps out. Thank you so much. Jeff needs to say CIA to algorithmically boost his stuff. Yeah, well, look, I just need to get in good with the CIA. Like some of the other creators that I know, I know they got to pass a good word off. Yeah, I doubt that's gonna happen. But anyway, ridiculousness. All right, so that said, let's get this set up and roll with it. Got a buddy up with Jeff Bezos? Oh, is that it? Well, I mean, we both got something in common. We're both bald and named Jeff, so obviously that's a good starting point as any. All right, hold on. I never get this thing right. Okay, here we go. Always messing around with this damn thing. Okay, all right. Very serious stuff. Very serious stuff going on here. All right, so we gotta do the serious thing for a second. On Thursday, President Joe Biden marked the one-year anniversary of the failed Capitol insurrection. And he went out and he actually made a pretty strong speech about it. I'm going to show you one part. We're going to analyze it. And then we've got a couple more clips. So first, here's the first video. Take a look.
We saw with our own eyes rioters menace these halls, threatening the life of the Speaker of the House, literally erecting gallows to hang the Vice President of the United States of America. What did we not see? We didn't see a former president who had just rallied the mob to attack, sitting in the private dining room off the Oval Office in the White House, watching it all on television and doing nothing for hours as police were assaulted, lives at risk, the nation's capital under siege. This wasn't a group of tourists. This was an armed insurrection. They weren't looking to uphold the will of the people. They were looking to deny the will of the people. They weren't looking to uphold a free and fair election. They were looking to overturn one. They were looking to save the cause of America. They were looking to subvert the Constitution. This isn't about being bogged down in the past. It's about making sure the past isn't buried. That's the only way forward. That's what great nations do. They don't bury the truth. They face up to it. Sounds like hyperbole, but that's the truth. They face up to it.
All right. So, look, incredibly strong remarks from Joe Biden. And look, a lot of the stuff that he said, I pretty much agree with. There's a little part of the end, sort of inconsequential, like, great nations don't bury stuff in the past. Well, then that means that there's a lot of nations out there ain't great. Ain't great, because you got a lot of... I know I'm going to get in a lot of trouble with that comment, but it seems to me like a lot of countries, a lot of nations have buried their past, including this one, or at least, the attempt to bury the past. But anyway, I'm not going to get too hung up on that. Overall, fairly strong, fairly good speech, right? And again, calling it an armed insurrection is absolutely what it is. Okay? Yeah, and yes, they were armed. They weren't armed with guns, but they had tasers, chemical spray, baseball bats, flagpoles, all the stuff that they use to assault police. And that's what happened. And let's not forget, of course, about the pipe bombs that were planted at the headquarters of both the Democratic and Republican parties that happened right before the riot. It was all part of an effort, of course, to intimidate lawmakers, intimidate Mike Pence, hang my pants, that whole chant. Yeah, it was sort of the last straw to intimidate Mike Pence into doing the Green Bay sweep, essentially, and basically allowing conservative propaganda to dominate the airwaves and try to convince Republican lawmakers in the states to try to recall their electors so that those electors would vote for Donald Trump instead of Joe Biden in the Electoral College. And so, look, again, it was a fairly sophisticated plan. They knew what they were doing, but it all hinged on Vice President Mike Pence, and he did not execute the play. He did not end our representative democracy, so to speak. So that said, I thought it was actually also great to point out how it was Republicans, and again, you get this narrative from Trump supporters, oh my God, they're trying to silence us, they're trying to cancel us, they're trying to cancel our votes, etc. No, that's what you're doing. You tried to cancel out the vote of the majority of the American people. Again, the majority of the American people did not vote for Donald Trump. The majority voted for Joe Biden. About 7 million more people voted for Joe Biden. And again, let me also note that we all know that that doesn't actually mean anything in regards to who actually wins the election. The elections are not democratic in this case. It comes down to the Electoral College. And the Electoral College, of course, should be eliminated. We should get rid of that. We should actually have democracy in this country. But that said, right, I remind you of this because not only is it factual, but also because that Republicans have never cared about the will of the people. When they say, oh, we speak on the will of the people, they actually don't. Not at all. They don't represent the people. In fact, they pass laws that curb legal voting, that prevent people from exercising their constitutional right to participate in elections. Use little dirty tricks. They gerrymander. They push out laws that drown normal people out of the political process while bringing lots and lots of dark corporate money in, something that unfortunately both parties are now awash in. It's gotten to the point where Democrats have to have an overwhelming amount of votes to overcome some of this gerrymandering in order to keep majorities in the House and Senate. And again, I've got criticisms of the weakness of the Democratic Party in the face of what I see as fascism. And I'll get to that because that really does enable things like Republicans who had stolen, for example, the 2000 election by using the Supreme Court. You remember the giant recounts in Florida and the shady connections with Jeb Bush, who was the governor of Florida at that time. And so we all know that entire debacle. In fact, again, Bush lost a popular vote in 2000. Trump lost a popular vote both in 2016 and 2020. There's two presidential races decided where the winner did not win the popular vote in this country. Now, of course, when the Republicans won, the Democrats conceded. They conceded. Okay, and they did. Hillary Clinton pretty much immediately said, okay, I didn't win the election. And then, of course, she went to complain about it, but she did concede the election. Okay, Al Gore, once again, conceded the election. All right, then. Now, what's different? Well, Republicans, Donald Trump in 2020, said, no, I don't concede this election. In fact, if I lose, he said, and he'd been warning this months before the election, if I lose, it's fraud. And so he's whined about it for years. And so, please, spare me. I know the Electoral College decides who's president and not the popular vote. But, as I said, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. And that's a fact. That would actually be make this country a little bit more actually democratic. But at the same time, let's go to let's go to more stuff here from Joe Biden before I go any further into any screeds. Here's Biden. He's going to go directly after Trump. Take a look.
He's not just a former president. He's a defeated former president. Defeated by a margin of over 7 million of your votes in a full and free and fair election. There is simply zero proof the election results are inaccurate. In fact, in every venue where evidence had to be produced, an oath to tell the truth had to be taken, the former president failed to make his case. Just think about this. The former president and his supporters have never been able to explain how they accept as accurate the other election results that took place on November 3rd. The elections for governor, United States Senate, House of Representatives. Elections which they closed the gap in the House. They challenged none of that. President's name was first. Then we went down the line. Governors, senators, House representatives. Somehow those results are accurate on the same ballot. But the presidential race was flawed. And on the same ballot, the same day, cast by the same voters. The only difference, the former president didn't lose those races. He just lost the one that was his own. Finally, the third big lie being told by a former president and his supporters is that the mob who sought to impose their will through violence are the nation's true patriots. Is that what you thought when you looked at the mob ransacking the Capitol, destroying property, literally defecating in the hallways, rifling through the desks of senators and representatives, hunting down members of Congress? Patriots? Not in my view. I did not seek this fight brought to this Capitol 1 year ago today. But I will not shrink from it either. I will stand in this breach. I will defend this nation. And I will allow no one to place a dagger at the throat of democracy.
All right, so again, pretty strong as far as speeches go. Like, whoa, that's an actual strong Biden speech. I'm not used to this Biden. Well, what happened to this guy? Where's this guy? I mean, again, compared to what we've seen since he was elected, we haven't really seen strong Biden. So, and again, he's factually correct. And so, he's saying, and I love the point where he basically points out, oh, so wait, you're saying that the results of the same election where, you had all these governors, senators, whatever, and you had some pretty big wins in this election, but those are all legitimate. Oh, but the one where Trump lost, oh, that's the one that's illegitimate. Oh, okay, fantastic, wonderful. Great logic there. It's pretzel logic, it's what it is. It makes no sense. But again, to the people who really believe in this stuff, facts don't matter. They just don't. They don't. And so I do like this because he's poking at Trump, calling him like, no, he's not just a former president. He's defeated. Because he's just poking at him. He's poking at Trump. And again, I enjoy that as much as anyone else. And it's good TV. But here's where I have to get critical. All right? It's just words. It's a good speech. Yeah, but it is just words. From what I'm seeing right now, Donald Trump and anybody else, any of the bigger players in what happened on January 6th are not being held accountable. I'm not seeing any of that. Now, that said, Merrick Garland, assuming that he's continuing his investigation, he says he is. Okay. We don't have any more information. We don't know if you're actually going after the people who are actually responsible for this, who have openly talked about their plans that they tried to put into motion to overturn the election. And not just that, right? we're also not doing anything to prevent stuff like this from happening before, or to even prevent Republicans from getting back into power. Again, there's no voting rights bill. The For the People Act, what happened to that? Can't even get the John Lewis Voting Act, which is massively watered down because they didn't like the fact that the For the People Act actually put limits on corruption, on political corruption, which again, both the Democrats and Republicans love to engage in. And not only that, but they're still not even really pushing back in the efforts that Republicans put into limiting voting. And so again, and this is while Democrats have a majority in the government. But Joe Biden, and this is what frustrates me the most. I love when Joe Biden gets tough. I actually love it when Democrats get tough. I want to see that. My biggest, I should say one of my biggest concerns or problems with the Democrats is that they're not tough enough. They're incredibly weak and oftentimes feckless. And so that's sort of my problem here. All right? Why doesn't he use this kind of speech at Joe Manchin, who is blocking his agenda? That's my question. Why? It's not just Republicans that are blocking his agenda. Yes, but that's to be expected. But you have Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema that are blocking him, that are blocking Build Back Better. Why is he not going out and using these incredibly, because again, Biden can absolutely deliver an incredibly strong speech. You just heard it right from his mouth. There it is. But he refuses to do so when it comes to things that actually get policy passed. And that's the problem. That's my frustration. Okay? And by the way, this doesn't mean that everything that Biden has done has been terrible or sucky. No, I again give him great credit for leaving Afghanistan. And this is, of course, when corporate media was just on him over and over again. Oh my, Joe Biden, how could you leave Afghanistan? How could you do that? Oh, the troops, you got to protect the Afghanis. We weren't protecting the Afghanis. We were protecting the opium fields or the poppy fields. That's what we were doing. Same thing. All right. I give him great credit for leaving Afghanistan. 100%. Because that was the right thing to do. And it was the right thing to do. And so what I'm saying is he has the capability of being incredibly strong. He knows how to be tough. He's not weak. He's not feckless. He knows how to fight. Which leads us to the problem. He didn't want to. On some of these issues, the policy issues, like canceling student loan debt, like encouraging the elimination of the filibuster to get Build Back Better, he's refusing to do so. And there's, of course, a reason for that. And he's not being aggressive on voting rights, which, again, is something that is so incredibly important as to stopping the push towards fascism that the right is doing. I mean, for Joe Manchin, getting back to him for a second, right? Now, if I were president, I wanted to pressure Joe Manchin. Well, I would just point out that, hey, I'm aware that your daughter colluded, Heather Bresch, former CEO of Mylan Pharmaceuticals, happened to collude with the CEO of Pfizer in order to keep the price of EpiPens artificially high by creating a monopoly on that drug and then splitting the profits. You got something to say about that, Joe? Come on, man. Come on, Jack. Why don't you just do me a solid here? I don't go after you for that. I don't get seek my Department of Justice on you. If you just work with me, pass my Build Back Better. Oh, Jeff, how dare you? How could you propose such a preposterous thing? It's called politics. You don't think FDR didn't have to get tough in order to pass New Deal policies? You think LBJ was just allowed to pass Medicare without a fight? No, it's called politics. You got to get dirty sometimes. And I understand that. You got to get dirty sometimes, and you got to get super tough. And again, Biden can absolutely get tough. And he does so against Donald Trump, and I love it. Do more of that, but actually do it more on policy too. We've got to do that. We've got to fight collusion, we've got to fight corruption, we've got to fight price fixing, and we've got to fight fascism. And what you're doing, yes, it's a great speech, but it is, at the end of the day, just words. We need more words. We need more than words, not more words. We want to see some actions, not just on Trump and January 6th, but again, let's go for policy, healthcare, inflation, voting rights, the environment, fighting against the fascism, going after and solving issues facing real people. Because if we don't, the dagger that he says is at the throat of democracy, we allow Republicans to get back in, well, they're going to make sure that dagger doesn't stop at the throat. All right. On Facebook, Lisa asks, let me get that comment here because I love that question. I thought everything was going to change when Biden became president. I don't understand when the Republicans in office, they steamroll over the Democrats and push everything through that they want. Why can't we do this? Well, the only answer is that I can come up with is that they don't want to. That it was only empty campaign promises to get people to vote for them. I mean, nobody is that weak and feckless on purpose. Or I'm sorry, by accident. It's on purpose. All right. Moving on. Nothing will fundamentally change, says Matty Dragon. That's the, yep. That's what he told the donors. This is why, at the end of the day, no, not every blue will do. Not any blue will do. Primaries, 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 folks. All right. Former President Donald Trump was not exactly thrilled with the speech given by President Joe Biden on the anniversary of January 6th. In fact, in an angry email, yes, email, sent out to MAGA supporters, because he has no press conference, he decided to cancel that press conference. And of course, he is banned from social media. So his options are pretty limited. And so he takes the email, where he rages. This is what he wrote. Biden, who's destroying our nation with insane policies of open borders, corrupt elections, disastrous energy policies, unconstitutional mandates, and devastating school closures, used my name today to try to further divide America. This political theater is all just a distraction for the fact that Biden has completely and totally failed. Our country no longer has borders. Really? Has totally and completely lost control of COVID. Record numbers. I love how he put that in parentheses. Record numbers. Is no longer energy independent. Inflation is rampant. Our military is in chaos. And our exit or surrender from Afghanistan was perhaps the most embarrassing day in the long and distinguished history of the United States. And so much more. No, look, okay, on Afghanistan real quick. Afghanistan, that was actually partly your doing, Trump. I mean, you also spearheaded the plan to get out of Afghanistan. And so, I mean, and by the way, you also get credit for wanting to leave Afghanistan. I think it's great. I think it's great that both Biden and Trump wanted to get out of Afghanistan. That's the right policy. I don't understand. But no, since the execution was not great, of course, since the execution was not great, he has nothing, he doesn't want anything to do with it, because of course, obviously. All right, there's more. He says, why is it that the unselect committee of totally partisan political hacks, whose judgment has long ago been made, not discussing the rigged presidential election of 2020? That even your own judges that you had appointed say, no, that there is no evidence of a rigged election. There is nothing here. No evidence of mass voter fraud and election rigging. Nonsense. And he continues by saying, it's because they don't have the answers or justifications for what happened. They got away with something. And it's leading to our country's destruction. They all want conversation concerning the election canceled. Just look at the numbers. They speak for themselves. I don't even know what numbers he's referring to. They are not justifiable. So the complicit media just calls it the big lie, when actually the big lie was the election itself. He's still going on about it. Like, he's so incredibly salty. Like, the guy's like super triggered. Again, Fox News, biggest cable news channel in the country, endlessly talked about the election. Endlessly. The voter fraud, it's everywhere, it's everywhere. Okay, what about the numerous court cases that you brought and that your allies brought? Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, all those different court cases. What happened? Well, they lost pretty much every one of them. They did win one on a technicality, by the way, which ended up netting maybe a couple hundred votes for Trump. Okay, that's great. Hey, at least we found the actual count there. And all of the recounts, well, some of them did actually net more votes for Trump, and some of them netted more votes for Biden. And so, but it wasn't enough to change the outcome of the election. But yet he still continues. He continues. And the guy is molding. He can't let go. Still today, he can't let go. Because of course. And here's the thing, right? A lot of what he said here is just total nonsense. Biden, for example, has continued essentially the same kind of border policies as Trump. It's not really that much change. I mean, you still got kids in cages. And so, come on. Not only that, but look, again, I mentioned the so-called corrupt elections and the voter fraud. Turns out we're finding voter fraud from Trump supporters. In fact, you had a fourth person from the Villages in Florida that was charged with voter fraud just this week. It's among others that have been charged with voter fraud. Again, in very, very infinitesimally small numbers, you find that Trump supporters, Trump voters, were the ones voting and doing voting fraud, trying to vote twice or voting in their dead relatives' names. Come on. And look, as far as our energy policy is, what's going on with that, it really hasn't changed that much. But what has changed in a big way to affect prices is demand. Gas prices went down during the pandemic because nobody was going anywhere. And now the demand is back up. And now also, as a result of the pandemic, you have OPEC Plus. OPEC Plus, a literal oil cartel made up of different oil producing countries. So they got together and they're like, we lost a lot of money during the pandemic because people were not buying gasoline, they weren't driving. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to get together and we're going to just cut supply. When you cut supply, that raises prices. Oh, look, higher gas prices. You have inflation, you have supply chain issues. Those are real. And now as far as energy independence, though, you really can't be energy independent. That's a fallacy. It's a joke, because the way that it works here in this country and all over the world in most countries is that private corporations pump the oil out of the ground domestically, right? And so as far as like how it works in America, they pump it out of the ground, they send it to Texas, they refine it, and then they sell it on the global market. That's it. That's not really energy independence when we're buying our own oil back from the private corporations. Now, what would be different is if we nationalized our oil. Like, I don't know, Venezuela, they did that. Or Alaska, for example. Now, Alaska, look, under Sarah Palin, she sent out oil checks to every single Alaskan citizen. That policy turned out to be incredibly popular. You know why? Because it was socialism. Turns out, kind of popular. Weird. Now, as far as school closures, again, is Biden in control of all the schools? No. In fact, the message that we hear from the Biden administration, Dr. Fauci, etc., is open the schools, get back to work. So, and a lot of that is, again, controlled in the local districts. Now, one thing that he is, unfortunately, Trump is correct about in this unhinged screed is that it is theater. There's a lot of theater here. And it's not just because it's a distraction from Biden's failures. And look, I think there are many failures of the Biden administration, and I'm honest about that. I definitely think that he has not lived up to pretty much any of his campaign promises. But here's the thing, right? It's because they know that the Republicans aren't going to do anything to hold their own members accountable. The Democrats know that, but they're still doing this anyway. And so it is, in a way, theatrical. Biden's also not going to do anything strong. Now, the speech itself was great, but without anything, without action, meaning consequences for people who go on live TV and brag about planning the Green Bay sweep, the insurrection, you know, people like Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon, and of course, people who are in the center of this entire thing, people like Trump. Unless you go after them, nothing's going to fundamentally change. No one's going to be held accountable. And guess what? Republicans will continue to Republican. They're just going to do the same thing. They're going to suppress the vote, do voter suppression. They're going to challenge every election that they don't win with conspiracy theories, and just overall try to erode democracy. And who knows, the next time they might actually be successful, depending on what they do and who they choose. Now, one more thing. Here's what Trump also said. The Democrats want to own this day of January 6th so they can stoke fears and divide America. I say let them have it because America sees through theirs, lies, and polarizations. Is there a spell check? Grammar check? I don't know. Does anybody like proofread this? I'm just asking. I'm just curious. But okay, polarization. Let's talk about polarization. Homeboy, you tried to steal an election. You tried to disenfranchise every single Biden voter in this country. I can't think of a lot that is more polarizing than that. I mean, look, they want to give it, okay, they want to give this entire thing to the Democrats. Well, here's the thing. You already own it. You own January 6th. Your supporters own January 6th because you were the ones, they were the ones who went into the Capitol, smashed windows, shit on the floor, and, tried to hang the vice president. Or at least chanted that they wanted to. That thing's yours. That's yours. You own it. All right. More sound and fury. Texas Senator Ted Cruz has earned the ire of MAGA by saying this.
Solemn anniversary this week, and it is an anniversary of a violent terrorist attack on the Capitol, where we saw the men and women of law enforcement demonstrate incredible courage, incredible bravery, risk their lives to defend the men and women who serve in this Capitol. We are grateful for that courage. We appreciate the selfless sacrifice of the men and women who keep us safe.
Whoa. Wait, did Ted Cruz just say something reasonable? Hold on. Wait. No, I mean, you heard it. He's like, wait. There's got to be a but here. Is there a but? There has to be a but. A big, tremendous but. Where is it? No. What is going on here? Ted Cruz. Now, here's the thing, though. Ted Cruz, yes, he sounds reasonable. But remember that he went around spreading election conspiracy theories, led a group of Republican senators and senators-elect last year in rejecting the electors from certain states won by Joe Biden over, of course, those election conspiracies. That said, at the end of the day, he actually did vote to certify the election. So that is pretty interesting. That said, MAGA World is not happy with him over this. In fact, here's Tucker Carlson.
Now, let's be honest. Everyone who's conservative appreciates Ted Cruz. You may not like him, but you got to appreciate him. He's legitimately smart. He's one of the more articulate people to serve in the Congress, maybe the most articulate. He doesn't use a single word by accident. Every word Ted Cruz uses is used intentionally. He's a lawyer. He described January 6th as a violent terrorist attack. Of all the things that January 6th was, it was definitely not a violent terrorist attack. It wasn't an insurrection. Was it a riot? Sure. It was not a violent terrorist attack. Sorry. So why are you telling us that it was, Ted Cruz? And why are none of your Republican friends who are supposed to be representing us and all the people who've been arrested during this purge saying anything? What the hell's going on here? You're making us think maybe the Republican Party is as worthless as we suspected it was. That can't be true. Reassure us, please, Ted Cruz.
Yes, please reassure us, Ted. Oh, that's great. That's fun. All right, so now, look, Tucker Carlson, you heard him. Well, he's not the only person who's mad at Ted Cruz. In fact, here's Steve Bannon. He said this, and it's along the similar vein, by the way. You're going to see a theme. My problem is with the gutless Republican Party. They will not take a stand. This is why we've won more elections than we've lost, and we've lost the country in the process. Sebastian Gorka tweeted this. I'm so done with Ted Cruz. What are the odds he's the senator who told President Trump not to speak tomorrow? In reference to that canceled press conference. Here you have right-wing commentator John Cardillo tweeting this. Ted Cruz followed Lindsey Graham and showed his true colors today. Again, another reference about the press conference that Trump canceled. Cancel culture on himself. Julie Kelly, another person on Twitter, just tweets, Cruz also commends Capitol Police. You know, the cop who executed a female veteran doesn't mention her name. Shameful performance today at Senator Ted Cruz. So, again, these are really rare moments of lucidity from Ted Cruz. So you got to think, it's Ted Cruz. What's the angle here? Look, I think pretty much everybody on both sides knows who Ted Cruz is. The guy's slimy. He's a snake. I know. Animals are innocent, right? But nobody likes him. Nobody on Republicans don't like him. He's one of the most disliked people in Congress by his own party. They don't like him. Obviously, Democrats don't like him. So what's going on here? What are you doing, Ted Cruz? What's up with you? What's going on? Because I think, by the way, there's something he's plotting something. I know he's plotting something. Now, is he going to run after run against Trump or DeSantis in 2024 for president? He already tried running for president before in 2016. So, and of course he got clobbered. He got Donkey Konged. And so I don't know how well that's going to go. And not only did he get Donkey Kong, he got absolutely unmanned by Donald Trump. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I don't even like Trump. But hilarious how sad this guy is. Incredibly sad. Even though I absolutely agree with what he said. Yes, it was a violent attack on the Capitol building. It was. But again, I don't know what he's actually trying to accomplish here. Why he's being reasonable. And it always, it makes me wonder, because we know who Ted Cruz is. But he's not the only one who has a weird, maybe not an about face, but other Republicans that are speaking out. In fact, here's Karl Rove. He said, there could be no soft pedaling what happened and no absolution for those who planned, encouraged, and aided the attempt to overthrow our democracy. Love of country demands nothing less. That's true patriotism. If Republicans had done what some Trump supporters did on that violent January 6th, Republicans would have criticized them mercilessly and have been right to do so. No, absolutely. Look, imagine if it were a group of Antifa. I know. The conspiracy theories are like, oh, it's the Antifa, it's FBI. No, if that had actually happened, Capitol Police would have shot him dead. They had the kids' gloves out for Trump supporters because they're right wing. They're all right wing. So, if it had been left wingers that were doing this, they wouldn't be alive. Or at least most of them, right? Now, that said, Rove, again, the talking ham, is correct. And he adds, Republicans would have torched any high official who encouraged violence or stood mute while it was waged and been right to do so. Republicans would have demanded an investigation to find out who was responsible for the violence and been right to do so. Look, here you have a situation where some of the worst people are actually making sense. Because there's people on the right, there are conservatives on the right that have not fallen into the Trump cult. I don't think there's many of them, certainly, but they do exist. And so the existence of some of these people who are, again, loathsome when it comes to their policies, that are sitting here and they're actually making sense, it just kind of shows you how extreme the Trump wing of the Republican Party has actually become. It's so weird. Wasn't Karl Rove one of the guys who brought in all the extremists of the Republican Party? To be fair, I think a lot of people did. So I don't think it's just Karl Rove. I mean, we can go into the entirety of the whole right-wing ecosphere of conservative media that is essentially, and this is according to a conservative. You remember when I talked about Charlie Crist, who, came out and he said, look, what we've created here on the right is a gigantic echo chamber. And so you have Fox News, you had Rush Limbaugh, you have conservative, talk radio for so many years, dominating the airwaves in a lot of these different places. That all they were getting was that perspective. And that perspective went even more extreme. And, of course, again, you've heard the rhetoric from Rush Limbaugh, and a lot of that continues to be echoed today. Democrats are, they're the enemy. They're the enemies of America. They're traitors. They're communists. Please, Joe Biden and communists. You gotta be fucking kidding me. No, I know actual communists. All communists do not like Joe Biden. Nowhere near to the left. Nowhere near to the left. Corporatist, yes. Leftist, they are not. But yeah. you know, go into massive, long discussions about how that whole ecosphere just essentially radicalized a whole group of Americans. And, you know, and again, they haven't heard any of the other side or don't believe in any of the institutions anymore. And again, some of that's not even their fault, honestly, because we have institutions that are super hyper capitalist that have been crushing regular working people, right wingers as well, you know, conservatives, working class people of, you know, all colors and stripes and political ideologies, crushing them into the dirt. Corporatism. That's the problem. But have convinced them that no, it's not the fault of the corporatists, the bosses, the owner donors. No, it's the fault of the Democrats. Just the Democrats. Super weird. Neolib, he's center right since Kentucky Progressive Dragon. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. All right. Moving on. Let's go to Mike Pillow. And interestingly enough, this is actually not going to be a Pillow Talk segment. All right. Bad news for Mike Pillow. It appears that Congress wants his phone records. So now, CNBC spoke to Mike Lindell in some text messages. And in a text message, the Pillow guy wrote that the January 6th committee has asked for his phone records. Now he said, I wasn't there on January 6th, and yes, they did subpoena my phone records, but we filed a complaint for declaratory and injunctive relief against the January 6th committee and Verizon to completely invalidate this corrupt subpoena. Fun. All right, so now look, you realize the subpoena isn't actually a polite favor, right? No, it's Congress saying, look, you might have something that is of great interest to us in a criminal investigation. You might want to come in and answer some questions, or, you know, supply us with the documentation so that we can look over it. Now, if you don't give them the records, obviously, they have the ability to come in and get them in whatever way I guess they choose fit, or at least they're supposed to, generally. Now, Lindell said that he was informed that the committee wanted his phone records, and from the time between November through early January. And that's of course, 2021. So now, they wanted to see if he had any role in the planning of the January 6th Capitol insurrection. Now, I think that he did. I think at least he knows something. Look, we know from different reporting that he's had meetings with Trump after the riot, where a Washington Post photographer had caught some images of some of his notes. Those notes mentioned using the Insurrection Act and martial law, if necessary, and to move Trump loyalists into the head of the CIA. The notes also referenced conspiracy theorist, Kraken lawyer Sidney Powell, who's been going out there and spreading nonsense conspiracies. Oh, right, the same kind of conspiracies that Mike Pillow had been spreading. Fun. Now, multiple people had also claimed that Lindell had met at the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. on January 5th, alongside other Trump allies, including former advisor Peter Navarro. He, you know, the guy who worked with Bannon to do the Green Bay sweep, basically a way to get the electors recalled, the ones who voted for Biden in certain swing states, to change those electors out with ones who would vote for Donald Trump, therefore handing Trump the election and disenfranchising tens of millions of Biden voters. All right, so now other people who were involved in that meeting were Rudy Giuliani, of course, and Senator Tommy Tuberville. Tommy. What's going on, Tommy? Now, they apparently had discussed election-related matters, obviously. Now, Daniel Beck, CEO of Idaho-based TXT Wire, had described a gathering on Facebook the day before the riot, saying 15 of us spent the evening with Donald Trump Jr., Kimberly Guilfoyle, Tommy Tuberville, Michael J. Lindell, Peter Navarro, and Rudy Giuliani. We talked about the elections, illegal votes, court cases, the republic's status, what to expect on the Hill tomorrow, and said that Trump will retain the presidency. Right. Charles Herbster, Republican candidate running to be the next governor of Nebraska, also placed Lindell with the same group on January 5th at the Trump Hotel. So now Lindell's like, I didn't do that. I wasn't there. No, I mean, I was there shortly, but I didn't meet with anybody. What are you talking about? No, I wasn't there. I was selling pillows. That's what it is. Now, Lindell was also involved with rallies organized for by Women for America First, the Trump nonprofit group that helped put together the rally that preceded the riot at the Capitol. So it seems to me that Mike Lindell might be a little involved in this entire thing. I'm just saying. His actions since the Capitol riots, where he kept pushing the big lie, doing the cyber symposiums, all that stuff, it really does show you how invested personally he was into this entire thing. Now, the thing is about Mike Lindell is I do still believe that he is a true believer in this, that he actually thinks that the election was stolen. Like, he actually believes in this stuff. He is high on his own supply. He is bought into this, like a Trump supporter buying his crappy pillow. All right? And so, and again, you look at the reporting that TYT Investigates did into Mike Lindell and his connections with the family, right? And so you had that shady group of, again, very conservative, religiously conservative people that were getting together and that were, I guess, trying to figure out how to get money to first, I believe it was Ben Carson, and then to Donald Trump. This was back in 2015, doing these meetings. And I remember Lindell talking about how he's like, I was having dreams about Donald Trump. And I just think it's divine. I had dreams about meeting him, and then I actually met him. Oh, and there's a divine, there had to have been like, I'm chosen of God. And so he thinks that he's on the side of Jesus. And that Donald Trump is some sort of martyr, and that maybe he himself is a disciple or some sort of saint that is there to try to actually save Donald Trump and the Republic from evil. And I've heard this phrasing before from different Trump supporters. They don't see this as, Democrats versus Republicans. They don't see this as a rule of law versus not. Okay? What they see this is matter of good and evil. The forces of God versus the forces of Satan. That's how they see this as. That's how they see this. And so, of course, when you put it into religious terms, it makes sense to understand the motivations of people like Mike Lindell. And so, understandably, this is why he and others, at least he himself, is saying, no, we're not gonna provide the phone records. And that's it. Well, I'm not gonna do it. Now, he's doing this along with former National Trump Security Advisor Michael Flynn, former White House Advisor Sebastian Gorka, and others. Now, I think this is why we should, do something about this. Stop asking nicely. And maybe use some of their power to convince people, put a little pressure on them to go and provide the information that they require. Don't want to comply? Okay, we'll hold you in contempt. All right. And again, as long as they follow the law and still get their records, this is what we should be doing. And I don't advocate for that position lightly, understand. But I also understand that an attack on our democratic process like this is not something to take lightly. All right. Mike's protecting the family. It sucks for him because, the family would never protect him. Would never protect him. Now, I saw a question here. So somebody's apparently trying to do a call out on me or something in my comments. I don't know. I didn't see the question. So I'm going to go find it now. Something about, something with Biden's failures, which I addressed earlier today, actually. And I talked quite a bit about some of the things that I am not happy with. But here's the thing, right? So I address all that stuff, but I'm not going to spend the entire channel just shitting on Democrats. And I understand that, they do deserve some of that. Absolutely. In some of these cases. But, this is not the shit on Democrats channel. There are other channels out there. I think you know who. But I will call them out when they do something that I don't agree with. And I will give credit to something that I do agree with. And so, let's be honest about that. So let me see if I can find it here. Let's see. Yeah, you call it, let them know you call it when you see it. I do, for sure. Well, let's see. Yeah, I don't think I can find it. Biden's going to change his COVID policy to, I'm not sure what he's changing his policy from. I mean, look, again, I've criticized the Biden COVID policy as get back to work. And so, I don't know, there's some criticism there where it's like, hey, wait a minute. I don't think that it is good to try to get everybody back into the office, especially when people are so incredibly concerned about, all the different variants that are coming around, or I'm sorry, that are going around. And I think that it's also a lot about control. They want people back into the office so they can monitor them and they can have control over the things that they do and how they manage their time. Bosses love to have control. And I think, of course, as long as the way that I look at it is as long as you're doing your job and you're working remotely, which, by the way, working remotely is kind of awesome. I mean, why shouldn't you be able to work remotely as long as you're getting your job done? But the bosses don't like it. Corporations don't like it. And by the way, something that I didn't realize, landlords for these gigantic buildings don't like it. And so, of course, they want to continue to make their money from, renting out these big office spaces. Bosses still want to have a lot of control, micromanagement over their employees. And not only that, but of course, people have to have, they'll go out and buy cars or buy used cars, buy gas to get back and forth, commute to work, buy expensive real estate close to work, all that stuff. And so, yeah, those are the reasons why they really want people to go back to work. Oh, yeah, it's because of the poor janitorial staff. Yes. Oh, that's what it is. Of course. No, we should absolutely have much more work from home stuff. Telework. And unfortunately, there are some jobs that you can't do telework for. But you know what? I think the people that are doing these during a pandemic, well, first of all, they should get paid way more than they do already. But then they should also get, in addition, hazard pay. If you're essential, if we're going to call you essential, we should pay you like you're an essential person. Just saying. All right. Let's move on. DeSantis. He's back. Governor Ron DeSantis has returned from his mysterious 2-week vacation. Now, on his return, some people have noticed that he might not be looking too good. In fact, there's some video out here of recent press conference where he's talking about Florida semiconductors, very important stuff. And a lot of people noticed that, again, he's struggling.
Who's our Florida DEO secretary. We also have Chancellor Henry Mack from the Florida Department of Education. Brad Ferguson, Senior VP and General Manager, Skywater, Florida, and Dale Miller, Site Director, Skywater, Florida, as well as Representative Fred Hawkins. And we've worked really hard in Florida to have more opportunities with vocational education. We have expanded our manufacturing footprint in the state of Florida, and we want to continue to be able to do that as we go forward. If you look at how the supply chain works, we are overly dependent on foreign nations, including Taiwan, which is a good ally of ours, but which is one that, is.
You okay, bro? I mean, you feeling all right? You don't sound good. You don't sound good at all. I mean, you're a little out of breath. Maybe you need to take it a little easy. Oh, what are you talking about? He just came back from a 2-week vacation. No, I don't think it was a vacation at all. And again, this is speculation here, but let's just say this. I'm not saying he has COVID, but he might have COVID. Just saying. Or at least be at the tail end of recovering from COVID, which could explain that aforementioned 2-week absence. Again, he disappears during a massive COVID surge, and we're not supposed to be suspicious at all. I mean, either he came down with something, or he was getting a little over-emotional about semiconductors. I mean, to be fair, I do too cry sometimes over technology. It's just so goddamn beautiful. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I don't disappear from my job for a couple of weeks and come back struggling to breathe. Just saying. So again, there are people that have noticed and they're weighing in. I'm going to read some comments here. Here's Brian Tyler Cohen saying, I'm not saying Ron DeSantis has COVID, but I really encourage everyone in that room to quarantine for the next 10 days. Maybe get some tests, you know. I mean, that is, if you can find a COVID test. But you can't. At least not in this country. Go to every other country, you know. They have COVID tests, but here in America, for some reason, we just can't seem to find any. I'm not sure why. Very, very strange. Very strange. Might have something to do with, I don't know, pretty not great COVID response from the current president of the United States. And that's just, you know, after the also even worse COVID response from the former president, which, of course, Ron DeSantis has taken after quite a bit. Now, Stephen Brown, a Twitter user from St. Louis who said he's been a lung doctor for 35 years, here's what they posted. To my very experienced eyes and ears, there's a respiratory issue. His phrasing, limited breath support, and use of accessory muscles and respiration are telling. doesn't confirm it's COVID-19. Not that I would do of course, even consider doing like a actual diagnosis from watching a clip. And neither does he, but he's like, oh man, that looks really suspicious. And he says, something appears to be wrong. Something appears to be wrong. Journalist Will Bunch said, look, this is how I've been talking this week. I've got COVID-19. All right. Again, it doesn't prove it. Doesn't prove it. A tweet from the account Duty to Warn also said the governor clearly struggled with breathing today. He looked lousy. His chest heaved repeatedly, and he sounded like he has or had COVID. All right. Again, don't know, can't tell specifically. But all I can say is he didn't look good. Didn't look good at all. Looks pretty bad. Michael Harriot also tweeted, I'm not saying Ron DeSantis has COVID. I'm just saying he disappeared for 2 weeks with no public appearances and came back breathing real funny. Look, this is one of those times where I wish he would be honest with the voters in Florida. I'm just, look, he could just come out and be like, oh, no, I've got the flu. Or I've got flu-rona. That's a thing. Or I got sick. I don't know. Just come out and at least be honest about what's going on. Because being maskless when you have something wrong, as he does, either that or he got done running a marathon before he went to that press conference. Because again, not looking good at all. He's putting his entire staff in, maybe not like deadly danger if they're all vaccinated, which again, it's Florida, so you don't know. But like, you're putting them at risk of getting whatever he has. It would be kind of respectful to your own staff. Maybe we'll find out in a good week or so if the rest of the people that are in this building or that were in that conference started not showing up for work and coming down sick. But here's the thing, right? He shares a lot of blame, obviously, in this. If he had COVID, it looks bad for him, right? And it looks bad because of his own policies that he had been pushing. Now, he passed anti-mask mandates, anti-vaccine mandates in the state of Florida, against some of the cities, by the way. And some of the cities are like, no, we believe that there should be a mandate. And he said, no. We believe in big government here. And my government's bigger than your government. And so I'm going to say you can't do a mask mandate. Take that. And then push for Regeneron. Now, Regeneron actually works. It is a treatment for severe COVID. Now, Regeneron also happens to be incredibly expensive, about $2,500 for a full set of treatment, right? I believe it's a 2-course treatment, and there seems to be a shortage here. I wonder why there's a shortage. Oh, right, Omicron. Because there's been a gigantic spike in Omicron cases in the state of Florida and a lot of different places. And so, look, there's a shortage because a lot of people are taking it. And then you also have, I believe it's also fairly difficult to make, or at least time consuming to make and expensive. The vaccine, however, it is free for us for now. Big Pharma might change that in the future. But it works and it prevents serious illness. And we just happen to have enough vaccines for at least everybody in this country, because we're not sharing it with the rest of the world, which we should. But we do have a lot of vaccines. I mean, it seems obvious what should happen. But, whatever. DeSantis doesn't really care as far as I can see. And so if he did have COVID, if he did actually get COVID, if he is sick, well, then I guess this would just be one more confirmed case of fuck around and find out. And there you go. Fuck around, find out. All right. That's it. That's all I got for you today. So tomorrow, I'm not going to be here. No show tomorrow. I have an appointment. No, I'm not sick, but I do have an appointment that I have to, go to. And so we'll be back here on Monday. Live show around 4 p.m. Eastern. If you could like and share the stream, appreciate that. Check out the videos, of course. Start getting released around 6 every hour. So all of that. Thank you so much. Again, let me go actually and read some of these super chats that were sent from some very kind people. And thanks to members as well. Dango Bangle says, Garland, let the statute of limitation on the 11 cases of obstruction of justice committed during the Mueller investigation expire. This is true. This is true. They're not going to go after him for obstruction of justice when he clearly did. Because of course. Also, adding, I'm under the belief that they don't want to, and there's a group that believes that once they pass something they campaign for, they got nothing else. Fair enough. And I don't know why, specifically, because I don't want to blanket everything. I know that definitely corporate donations, when you look at what they, what industries donate to certain politicians, and you compare and contrast that to the votes that they do, the votes that they take, the votes that they vote against or vote for, and you can really kind of see the correlation here. For example, pharmaceutical companies are one of the largest donors to basically one of the largest political donors in the country. And so you look at the people that have decided that they were going to vote against allowing Medicare to negotiate prescription drugs. And you look, and those it appears that those very same congressmen happen to get a lot of money from, would you believe it, pharmaceutical companies. Oh, that's so weird. That's so strange. But of course, mainstream media will tell you, oh, no, that's not evidence of corruption. What are you talking about? When Nancy Pelosi, and by the way, not just Nancy Pelosi, but you had, I believe it was Ron Johnson, just a smattering of different Republicans and Democrats that were doing insider trading. And Nancy Pelosi comes out and says, well, yeah, we're capitalist. Insider trading as a member of Congress, well, that's just how our system is. We're not going to get rid of that. No, we're not going to ban people. We're not going to ban people from doing any of that. No, of course, we love our insider trading. We love our corruption. And so, again, you look at the donations and you look at the financial interests. Open Secrets is a great way to find that. And you look at the way these politicians vote. It's pretty obvious that money corrupts the system and corrupts the process, and why we have to get money out of politics. So, Trump said he would sign a universal health care bill if it was placed on his desk. Biden said he would veto it. Trump said he would sign something knowing that there's no way Republicans would allow something like that to even get onto his desk. And actually, I have talked about, by the way, how Trump had originally praised the universal healthcare system of, I believe it was Australia. And I thought, great. He even wrote about it in his own book, Medicare for All, great way to go. The same kind of healthcare, universal healthcare system, progressives are in favor of. But the Republican Party would never allow that to happen. And by the way, you're also correct, and the Democratic Party would not allow that to happen. And you're also absolutely right when Joe Biden said, yes, he would veto Medicare for all. And it turns out that neither party is at all interested in passing universal single-payer health care, and it's because they get paid by health insurance companies. Health insurance companies lobby groups that represent hospitals that overcharge you. That's also why we can't get any movement on trying to end surprise billing. We can't even get a public option. And so the whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. How much money has corrupted the system, and how these politicians will go and they'll lie about their positions. Oh, we're in favor of Medicare for all. Remember Tulsi Gabbard? Oh yeah, I love Medicare for all. Oh, turns out I don't like Medicare for all. Kamala Harris. What was it, Kamala Harris? That also said she was in favor of universal health care, Medicare for all, and it was like, oh, never mind. No, Medicare for all. No, the only person that was actually serious about Medicare for all was Bernie Sanders. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. Oh, yeah, I got more super chats, sorry. Gabby Mathis, thank you. Francine Wilson, also thank you for the super chat. Gabby also says Ted Cruz was born in Canada, so he can run for presidency, or cannot run for presidency in the USA. Oh, you know what? Do you really think that a lot of people would care? Honestly, like, you think the Republicans would give a shit? No, they don't care. They'll let him run anyway. Nobody follows the rules anymore. Honestly, it feels like in this day and age that if you follow the rules, you're a sucker. Because there are so many people in big and in powerful positions. Always skirt the rules, break the rules. Medicare for all who want it. What a great song. Oh yeah, it was Buttigieg. That was Buttigieg too. Oh, disaster. All a bunch of just frauds. All right. Jesse Coates, thank you for being a new member, by the way, for clicking the join button below on YouTube. Really appreciate that. Our Future Now asks, what's my dragon name? Acid Dragon. That's what that is up there, actually. Let me point to the right thing. That's the Acid Dragon mini Morpho drew. That's supposed to be me. Pretty badass. I like it. Let's see. Thank you for the new follows, Bootleg Samurai and Amwill84. Appreciate that. All right. Any comments on Garland's speech? Boring. Very, very boring. It didn't say, he said a lot of things to say nothing at all, basically. Oh, we're looking into it. We're going to hold people accountable. Believe me, we're going to do that. Okay, well, I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. Let's just say that. All words. All words. All right. Hey, let's raid. Raid into... Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Today it's for Ravana's show on the TYT channel. So, Ravana, fun show. I was actually on it. So, talking about fake news.
I'm sure a lot of pigs have died as houses have blown down because of natural disasters and shit.
So, that's your preview. That's your preview. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you.
Big, massive dumps.
Give me a break. Please clap.
Mike Pence.
I will eat your ass.
Who's got a hammer?
Please clap.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.